Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today I got some exciting news. We just got a shipment in from MVP Discs. And in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the new Neutron Trail and the Eagle McMahon Fission Dimension. So, been really excited to test these discs out ever since I saw them on the order form. Couldn't wait for them to get here, and finally they came. And so I guess we'll just test them out today. Talking a little bit about the Neutron Trail, very unique with its flight numbers of 10.5, -11. If you look at the disc golf market, there's not really too many discs out there with similar flight numbers. To my knowledge, what I know the closest disc is the DGA Undertow, which is 10.4, -11. There's also the DGA Rogue, which is 11.4, -11. The Discmania S-Line TD, 10.6, -21, and even the even the Lone Star discs Larry, which is 9.5, -11. But I feel like this disc is pretty unique. I'm not sure if MVP was just trying to take advantage of a marketing opportunity by being one of the first to create a 10-speed that has very neutral flight characteristics, well, of -11. But I guess we'll just test it out today. When I first felt it, it felt really similar to my Neutron Volt for some reason. I don't know why, but I have one here. And if you look at the Neutron Volt, you kind of see in their profiles that they look kind of similar, I guess. Not, at least to my eye, a little bit. The Neutron Trail over here on in my left hand to your right could have a little bit more concave to it compared to the Volt, and also might have a much sharper wing, a little bit more elongated wing as well. And then if you look at the domes, I mean, my Volt is pretty flat top, but you could see that the Trail is a lot more domey. Has a bit of a pop top, if you could hear it. If I just go by hand feel, feels pretty good. Feels a little stable in my hand. Might be true because MVP discs typically run a little bit more stable, especially in their driver slot. So, but I'm hoping that this Neutron Trail kind of sets the tone for what is to come for MVP, and to like maybe have slightly more accurate flight numbers. But besides that, I'm really excited to try it out. And the next disc I'm going to be testing out is the all-new Eagle McMahon Fission Dimension, as I mentioned earlier. I've never thrown a Dimension before in my life, but I've heard a lot about them. But I've seen some MVP sponsored local Northern California guys throw them. I've heard mixed reviews that some of them are actually really flippy and kind of push straight, which is hard to believe based on the fact that the flight numbers are 14.5, 5, -0.53. But some will flip up and push straight forever. And then I've heard that some are just absolute meat hooks, which is probably the majority of them. But I'm excited to try the all new Fission plastic in this mold, because if we're going off of recent events, MVP just put their all new time lapse in the Fission plastic, and now it's a lot more usable, way more flippy than most definitely than the proto runs and even just the stock runs. So I'm assuming that this is going to be pretty usable and favor people that like wider rim discs. So I'm excited to try both of these discs out. Basically going to take these to the field and test them out. For the Dimension, I don't have anything to compare to. For the Neutron Trail, I'll compare this disc to the Discmania S-Line TD and the DGA Rogue. All right, let's take these two discs down to the field, test them out, and see how they fly. See you there. Also, before I go to the field, I forgot to tell you guys that I also have the all-new Total Eclipse Hex. Really excited to test this one out. Won't be doing it in this video, but I will in a video soon. So I also got some Neutron Soft Proxies, Neutron Soft Envies, and Neutron Spins, even more. So that's just some of them. You can snag them right now, hopefully on my website. Check them out. Besides that, I'm gonna take photos of all these discs, then I'm gonna go down to the field and test them out. See you there. All right guys, made it to the field. Time to test these discs. I'm gonna throw the ProLine Rogue from DGA 11.4-1 first. Then I'll throw the S-Line TD, and then lastly I'll throw the Neutron Trail. And I'm gonna try to throw these all a little bit flat to maybe a little bit hyzer, just at like 80%, just to see how the disc reacts. And then from there, I'll throw full power and see how far I can throw these. No way. All right, guys, first impression after throwing that trail, cannot believe how straight it went. I'm throwing into a little bit of right to left wind, but it seemed to have just like wanted to push through the crosswind and just like stay straight and fade like very minimally at the end. If you saw, the DGA Rogue definitely was a little bit more stable, while it seemed like the Neutron trail was just like had a little bit more glide and wanted to maybe turn a little bit more, which is pretty surprising. I honestly can't believe how true the flight numbers were. Maybe it was just like first throw luck, but I'll try it again and we'll do it full power for all of them this time. And just before I throw, I probably won't throw the TD again, because you can see how much more understable it is. I put way more hyzer than I wanted to, and it still flipped up and turned a lot. It still fought back, but probably not a good comparison to what the trail actually is. So I'll throw the Rogue and the trail max distance. Gonna throw it on a little bit more hyzer just to see if they flip up and how much they want to turn, but let's just see. I'm assuming this Rogue is probably not going to flip up that much, but let's test it out. Flipped the Rogue up actually a good amount, a lot more than I thought. I think I pushed it maybe 380-ish feet. Let's see how the trail reacts on the same line. I'm thinking it's gonna turn a little bit more, but let's see. All right, guys, I threw this one a little low, so I'm gonna give it the credit it deserves. Try to throw it just a little bit higher, but do the same thing. So that one I threw much higher, maybe a little bit more nose up, but definitely didn't flip up as much as I thought, but it still flipped up a good amount. It kind of feels, if I'm going off recent throws I've done, feels similar to like a slightly more stable Gorgon, really controllable. But with a Gorgon, you kind of just have to put them on a hyzer or put them flat if you have slower arm speed. But with the trail, you could put it on a little bit of Annie even, and it'll drift, but it won't like drift away from you. It's still like predictable and within its fade. So I found that pretty cool. But it seems like the Rogue and the trail are kind of similar in that fashion, that they both flip up. Maybe the trail will get a little bit more turn if you put it flatter or less hyzer than I just did. But yeah, all around I think it's a pretty good disc so far. But let's move on to the Fission Dimension. I'm throwing a 164 gram one. Never thrown one before. Gonna do the same thing, kind of throw it like 80% flat and then throw it full power. And I'll throw a destroyer out there too, just so you guys can know how a destroyer flies and how it compares. Oh my goodness. No way. All right, first impression with the disc. I cannot believe how flippy it is. I threw it I might have thrown a little bit of Anheuser there, but it just basically burned over. I mean, it is right to left wind, so it might have caught the plate and just pushed it down, but it showed like no sign of coming back, which is pretty crazy for what I thought the 14.5 overstable disc would do. And I guess the Fission plastic does really make it that much more understable. It is lighter too at 164 grams, but I guess let's try to pump it on hyzer as hard as I can and see if it flips up and still does the same thing. All right, I'm honestly still shocked that this thing turned over so much, but I'm gonna pump it on a bunch of hyzer, and I'm actually gonna use my super flippy Pro Destroyer instead to compare. It's 172 grams, really beat up. Should fly pretty similar, honestly. I'm gonna pump it with both of them on like as much hyzer as I need, just to see how far they can go and test the stability of this Fission dimension. But I'll throw this Pro Destroyer first. Four. Holy crap, that thing is more flippy than my Pro Destroyer. I actually can't believe, like I put it on, I felt like if I put it on similar hyzer and it still flipped up and turned way more. I mean, it came back and it was probably one of my furthest throws. I'll put the distance on at the bottom of this clip, but I can't believe how flippy those things are. But yeah, Jesus. Oh, and I forgot, just for fun, I'll throw the trail in dimension forehand, even though it's non-existent for me, just so you guys can see what it flies like for an absolute beginner forehander. Yeah, that was money. All right guys, just finished up throwing both these discs, and I guess I'll talk about the trail first. Was really surprised by how the trail flew. It held the line really well. After my first throw, I was actually really impressed on how when I threw it only like 80%, that it like pushed straight, turned a little bit, and then reliably came back. It was funny because it flew exactly as the flight numbers indicated. And then on that second throw, I tried to throw it about 95% on a lot more hyzer. It still flipped up almost to flat and then hyzered back out again. So yeah, it's interesting to think about now because there's not really a disc quite like it. Like the DGA Rogue, which is 11.4 -1.1, flew oddly similar. It has a pretty similar hand feel, and yeah, this is probably one of the only discs I've ever felt that flies very similar to this. It's kind of like just like you put it on a little bit of hyzer, flip it up, and it just goes straight forever. And so I'm not sure what a disc that I'm thinking of is kind of like a Discraft Passion, which is an 8-speed but has the same subsequent flight numbers, where you could just flip it up and it just pushes straight, maybe turns a little bit and then fades a little bit at the end. It's kind of what the trail is, but might go a little bit further. Might just have a little bit less flip and just a little bit more stability, which would be natural because it's a little bit wider rim. But overall, I think it's a pretty good disc. Seems like it'd be really good for like tight-wooded shots where you want to get distance driver level distance, but need the neutral flying disc. I would for sure want to use a trail. I'm not sure. I don't think if you put the trail on anhyzer that everyone really want to fight back. So this would probably be just best for like hyzer flip up shots, or shots where you just like want to stay in the fairway and not go out of bounds, or there's danger on the left or right hand side. This is kind of the disc you really want to throw. Last thing regarding like amateur throwers, or
lower arm speed throwers, this would be kind of like a good, stable, reliable wind fighter for people that throw 300 feet or less. Probably would go kind of like push straight just for a little bit, but then always fade out. Moving on to the Fission Dimension. First throw with it, I was baffled. Cannot believe I threw that thing. I threw it flat, 80%. It just burned over, almost like it wanted to just like immediately just pan to the right. I was really surprised, and I was still expecting this Fission Dimension to be just a tad bit more stable than that, but I felt like I put it on similar hyzer, maybe a little bit less, and it flipped up, drifted to the right a ton, and faded back. Now, I will say that even though it doesn't fly like the flight numbers, this thing really bombs. I was throwing into a little bit cross headwind, and I still threw it on what UDisc says. It said 470 feet. It's probably a little off. I don't think I threw that far. Also it's a little downhill as well, maybe like 4 feet downhill, but still went pretty far. I was really surprised, which is good news actually for a lot of people with, like I said earlier in this video, with bigger hands or people that like wider rims and don't throw that far, because I feel like I can only throw like 420 feet on a golf line. So with a disc like this, the flight numbers might be daunting to most people, but for people that throw like 300 feet, 350 feet, this can be easily used as one of your stable distance drivers where you can still get some distance out of it. And for people with my arm speed or even higher arm speeds, you can really put this thing on a lot of hyzer and flip it, like tons of hyzer, flip it up and get like max distance shots out of it. If there's a lot of tailwind, this would probably be the disc for you, because fresh out of the box, it's nice and flippy. But yeah, I guess that's my overall review of both the Neutron Trail and the Dimension. If you guys want to purchase either of these discs, I'll have them up on my site today. I'll probably only have a few of the trails left, so make sure you get one while you can. The Dimensions, I might have a few left. I got a few extras, so just check it out at www.disczone.com. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Really appreciate it. All the support over these past couple weeks has been pretty crazy. Didn't think I'd get this many views on any of my videos, but if you guys could like and subscribe, it would really mean a lot to me. Thanks again. Comment down below if you guys were surprised by how either of these flew, and also comment down below if you feel like I should compare these to other discs, or what you think about these discs as well. But as always, thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.